This is my fermented apple soda, and I've added a stick of cassia bark to this one to give it that kind of autumnal glow and a little bit of spice, and it was absolutely delicious and full of probiotics as well. So all you need to do is get yourself some apples. I've used a mixture of eating apples and crab apples that I picked. The crab apples will give it a nice level of acidity. Get it in a jar, cover it with water, and whatever this combined weight is, you're going to add 10% of this weight in something sweet. I'm going for unrefined caster sugar, but honey or maple syrup works. Get a stick of cinnamon or cassia bark in there, shake it up, and leave this at room temperature for 3 or 4 days. It will start to ferment and fizz as that wild yeast starts to feed on the sugars and come to life. It will release carbon dioxide, which makes it gassy. You need to let this gas out once a day and give it a good shake up for those flavors to mingle. And then on the 5th day, you're going to strain it like this, get it into a bottle. And then I left this at room temperature for another day to really carbonate, but make sure you're letting that gas out before popping it in the fridge to cool down, but it will also calm it down as well, so it's not so explosive when you open it. So if I was to leave this in the fridge for a couple of weeks, it will eventually turn to like a low alcohol content cider, probably about 2 or 3%. But if you drink it at this stage, it's a bit like a kombucha really, full of flavour, probiotics. But the cassia bark worked really well in this one. But you can add anything you like, leave it plain or add cloves to it, allspice. It's entirely up to you. Herbs are nice.